people lined up like it was an Iowa game. Thousands of people lined up like it was an Indiana Fever game. Caitlin Clark is the show and the main attraction everywhere she go. It's showtime. The lights is bright when CC is around, and she shines her light on everybody else, i.e. Lexie Hall at the Annika, i.e. Sophie Cunningham at the Annika, hitting the fan with a golf ball, having a great time.
Before we get into the story that shocked the sports world, if you appreciate deep dives into the most talked about moments in culture, make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, and ring the bell so you don't miss what comes next. It was a scene nobody in the sports world could have predicted. Thousands of fans lining up before sunrise, not for a basketball game, but for a golf tournament. The energy was electric. The cameras were flashing and all eyes were on one athlete. But this wasn't Tiger Woods. This was Caitlin Clark, the same player the headlines told you was overrated, too soft, and not built for professional leagues she dominated in college, was now the main attraction in a completely different sport.
Every single league is fully aware of the value that Caitlin Clark brings to the table, except the damn WNBA, and it is a shame. It is a shame. It is a true shame. We got to take a look at her swing, man. I might have to work with you on your swing, CC. Nah, you actually better than me. I'm not gonna lie. She's better than me. She's better than me.
Last piece of advice, aim right at it. I'd have to say, she's used to that.
It's a good swing.
And what she did on that green, alongside her fellow WNBA players, didn't just break the internet. It exposed a divide that's been simmering for months. This is a story of how 3 women traded hardwood for fairways and, in the process, created a moment of pure, undeniable sports history. The narrative surrounding Caitlin Clark's entry into the WNBA was set before she even stepped on the court. Critics and commentators alike painted a picture of an athlete who wasn't ready for the physicality, the intensity, the sheer force of the professional game. Whispers became headlines, suggesting that the league was simply too much for her.
We don't need to worry. We don't need to wonder. We don't need to speculate. We're hearing it from her mouth herself. This is something that people all off-season people was, oh man, well, Caitlin's not saying what's going on with her injuries. And hey, we wanted to know directly from the horse's mouth. Why? Because we know we can't trust Stephanie White. We know for a fact.
And when the season began, it seemed to many that those predictions were coming true. Game after game, she faced a barrage of hard fouls, aggressive shoves, and a level of on-court disrespect that became a constant topic of conversation. Even as she shattered rookie records and filled arenas to capacity, the conversation often focused not on her brilliance, but on her struggles. It was a constant cycle of criticism where credit seemed hard to come by. The message from certain corners of the basketball world felt clear. She needed to earn her place, to prove she belonged. But while the world watched for a crack in her foundation, few realized she wasn't breaking, she was planning. Then came the announcement that seemed to come out of nowhere. Caitlin Clark was entering a professional golf pro-am event. The news broke not with a whisper, but with a seismic ripple across social media platforms, leaving fans and pundits alike scrambling to make sense of it.
And have players like these 2 here, and as you know, it's an exciting week.
Caitlin, this is your second year. You're here. You turned in the basketballs for the golf shoes and the golf. So, just first question, just talk about your golf today. How was the round today?
A little messy off the tee. I need some lessons, but I honestly haven't played a ton. But it was fun. I think anytime you get to be out here and see these women do what they do really well, it's really inspiring and it's really fun. Obviously, this isn't the environment that I'm usually in, so it's kind of a challenge and something fun that I love that I get to do. So just really thankful that Annika and Gamebridge have me out here, and yeah, just a lot of fun. The weather turned out to be pretty nice, so everybody's like, sorry that it's kind of cold. I'm like, no, like it was snowing in Indianapolis this past week, so this is great weather for me, but it was a lot of fun. So just really thankful that I got to be here.
Your second year here and your second experience with the fans and the crowds on the first tee. So just talk about that first tee. Excitement, nerves, jitters, everything.
I mean, people always ask me, like, do I get more nervous for this or basketball? And it's this, and it's not even remotely close. Like, I don't worry about basketball too much, but there's nothing like standing on a tee box and a bunch of people.
At first, many fans thought it was a joke, a clever publicity stunt designed to keep her name in the headlines during the WNBA offseason. Skeptics questioned her credentials, wondering how a basketball phenom could possibly compete in a sport requiring such a different, nuanced skill set. But then her name appeared on the official roster, confirmed by the tournament organizers, printed in black and white right alongside legends of the game. This was no fantasy. It was a reality. She wasn't just dipping her toes in the water. She was diving into the deep end, willingly stepping into an arena where she was a novice, an underdog, a story yet to be written. And in a move that sent a powerful message of unity and defiance, she wasn't going alone. She arrived with her fellow WNBA players, Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull, by her side. This was crucial, a masterstroke of symbolism. These were the same women who had stood with her to the fire of the basketball season, who had felt the same elbows, read the same critical headlines, and understood the unique, isolating pressure she was under. They weren't rivals battling for minutes or accolades. They were a sisterhood, a united front. Together, they formed a trio with a single unspoken mission: to find respect and celebration in an arena that had yet to prejudge them, to experience the pure joy of sport without the baggage and narrative.
Tough year in terms of injury for you. Does that mean you've played a little bit more golf this year?
Unfortunately, it means I've played less, just because I haven't been able to get out there with some of the injuries that I was dealing with. But now feeling back to 100%, so been trying to take advantage of the fall weather.
Now I'm feeling back to 100%. Let's go. Let's go. Y'all better try to run to these other leagues.
The stage was set not for a mere game, but for a profound statement about talent perception and where true validation can be found. The morning of the tournament confirmed that this was no ordinary sporting event. It was a cultural moment. The crowds that gathered were unprecedented for a pro-am, swelling in size hours before the first tee time. They weren't the typical reserve golf audience. They were a vibrant mix of basketball jerseys and golf polos, families with young children, and lifelong sports fans, all drawn by a magnetic new force. Fans held up hand-painted signs that read, "Queen of both sports" and "Respect her game," messages that felt pointed and deeply personal. The buzz in the air was palpable, a low hum of excitement that wasn't for the seasoned golf pros, but for the basketball players who had captured the public's imagination and, seemingly, its heart. Commentators and analysts were left whispering in disbelief, their pre-tournament scripts abandoned as they tried to make sense of phenomenon unfolding before them. The atmosphere was one of pure, unadulterated celebration, a stark and noticeable contrast to the often tense, physically demanding environments Clark was used to on the basketball court. For the first time in a long time, the pressure felt different. It wasn't about surviving a relentless full-court press or anticipating a hard foul on a drive to the basket. It was about the silent, nerve-wracking, intensely personal pressure of standing on the first tee, completely isolated, with thousands of people holding their breath, watching your every minute movement. Clark herself would later admit in a candid interview that this was more nerve-wracking than any basketball game she'd ever played, including national championships. Because in golf, the moment is entirely your own. Then came the moment of truth, a sequence that would be replayed and analyzed countless times. One by one, they stepped up to the tee, each carrying the weight of expectation. Sophie Cunningham, known for her fiery competitiveness on the court, went first. She unleashed a powerful, aggressive drive that seemed to channel all that on-court intensity, the ball soaring with a low, penetrating flight down the center of the fairway. It was a shot of pure statement of intent, proving that an athlete's power is transferable. Lexie Hull followed, her approach noticeably different, calm, measured, and technically sound. Her clean, precise swing resulted in a shot that landed perfectly in position, demonstrating a finesse that quieted any remaining doubters in the crowd. The crowd was warming up, their applause genuine, but they were collectively waiting with bated breath for the main event. Then Caitlin Clark approached. A hush fell over the entire gallery, the silence so palpable you could hear the rustle of the leaves in the trees. She settled into her stance, the world seeming to slow down around her. Her swing was not one of brute force, but fluid practice grace, a smooth, rotational motion that was described by analysts as clean, effortless, and deceptively powerful. The connection with the ball was perfect, a crisp click that echoed in the silence. The ball launched into a high, majestic arc, flying straight and true as if on a string, before landing softly on the vast green, drawing gasps and an erupting roar that echoed across the course. It was in this exact moment that something incredible, almost mythical, happened. Reports and footage began to circulate, later confirmed by multiple sources, that Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer of a generation, a man who has seen every conceivable golf shot, had stopped his own warm-up routine to watch. He wasn't just glancing casually. He was fully observing, his experienced eyes tracking the ball's flight, a subtle nod of acknowledgement for the talent and the sheer cultural phenomenon unfolding before him. The same athlete who was deemed not tough enough for her own sport had just commanded the silent, ultimate respect of a global icon in his. The aftermath was instantaneous and overwhelming, a digital tidal wave that cemented the moment in sport history. Within minutes, clips of Clark's swing were everywhere, edited with dramatic music and slow-motion replays, dominating timelines on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Major sports shows like SportsCenter and Fox Sports One played it on a loop, breaking from their regular programming to dissect the swing and the story behind it. Social media exploded with reactions from celebrities, athletes from other sports, and millions of fans. The narrative was flipping in real time, no longer controlled by traditional sports media. Comments flooded in with fans stating, "She's getting more love in golf than the WNBA," and "This is bigger than basketball," phrases that became hashtags trending globally. The contrast became the main story, the central, unavoidable theme. While the golf world, from fans to legends, celebrated her, the official channels of the WNBA remained conspicuously, deafeningly silent. There were no public congratulations, no social media posts celebrating their stars' unprecedented crossover success. This silence spoke volumes to fans and critics alike, interpreted as a glaring embarrassment for a league that had, according to this growing narrative, failed to properly market and nurture its brightest star. The very commissioner who had once been portrayed as questioning her readiness was now watching her receive a hero's welcome, validation, and mainstream media praise in another, often more traditional, professional sport. The irony was not lost on anyone, becoming a central pillar of the days-long conversation that followed. Suddenly, the conversation shifted from pure sports commentary to hard business and cultural impact. The viral moment and the outpouring of genuine public support sent a clear, unmistakable signal to major corporate brands worldwide. Names like Nike, Rolex, and Callaway were suddenly in the picture, with industry insiders leaking rumors of multi-million-dollar sponsorship deals and exclusive partnerships being prepared. The same athletes who were subject to the relatively modest pay scales and media coverage of the WNBA were now being positioned as global marketing icons, their value quantifiably skyrocketing based on this single event. In their post-round interviews, Clark, Cunningham, and Ho were relaxed, smiling, and clearly enjoying the experience, their camaraderie evident. They weren't just athletes anymore. They had transcended their sport to become symbols. Symbols of a simple, powerful truth, that real talent and charisma shine brightest where they're respected and celebrated without reservation. They were living proof that a massive, engaged audience exists for women's sports stars when those athletes are allowed to be personalities, to cross boundaries, and to be celebrated for their greatness without a prerequisite of struggle. The public had voted with its presence, its deafening cheers, and its millions of online engagements, and the message was clear, unambiguous, and destined to reshape the landscape of sports marketing and athlete representation for years to come. This entire saga leads to one burning, unanswered question that now hangs over the world of sports like a thundercloud waiting to break. If Caitlin Clark can transition to a sport like golf, with its technical precision and mental fortitude, and immediately command this level of respect, adulation, and viral attention, what happens when she steps back onto the basketball court? The implications are profound and extend far beyond a simple boost in confidence. This experience was not a diversion. It was a recalibration. For the first time in her professional career, she operated in an environment where the primary narrative was not about her surviving, but about her thriving. The confidence gained from this validation, from the roaring crowds, the respect of a legend like Tiger Woods, and the global media celebration, is not something that can be simply left on the 18th green. It seeps into the psyche. It changes the posture. It alters the very aura of an athlete. She carries with her now the undeniable, quantifiable proof of her unique star power, a power so immense it can eclipse the established hierarchy of an entire other sport. The massive public support, visibly and audibly demonstrated, becomes a shield and a weapon. It tells her that her audience is not confined to basketball arenas. It is a global following that will watch her wherever she goes, And by extension, they will now be watching the WNBA with even more critical, demanding eyes. Her return to the WNBA won't just be a continuation of her rookie season. It will be a reckoning, a moment of truth for every dynamic that defined her first year. She will no longer be the wide-eyed rookie, trying to prove she belongs in the league. That chapter is conclusively closed. She will return as a certified crossover superstar who has been validated on a global stage, in a realm entirely separate from basketball. The players who physically challenge her, the veterans who tested her mettle, will now be facing a different athlete entirely. They will be lining up against a woman who knows, with absolute certainty, her worth in the broader sports economy. She has felt the support of the entire sports world, a force more powerful than any single critic or opposing team. This knowledge is transformative. It allows an athlete to play with a freedom that is unburdened by doubt, to operate with a swagger that is earned not just through points and assists, but through cultural impact. The critics who doubt her toughness and her fit for professional game now have to contend with the image of her coolly executing under a different, but equally intense pressure. The silent, isolating pressure of the tee box, a test of nerve that many athletes would find far more daunting than a game-winning free throw. Furthermore, the league itself, which often seemed hesitant to fully and unequivocally embrace her as its central marketing pillar, now finds itself in an untenable position. The narrative has been written not by them, but by the public, and it paints a picture of a star who had to go outside her own sport to receive her flowers. This creates a new layer of leverage and expectation. The fans who cheer for her on the golf course will now expect the basketball product to match that level of celebration and respect. They will be watching for how she is treated, how she is marketed, and how the game is officiated around her. And Clark herself returns, as she stated clearly, finally feeling back to 100% physically. This combination, peak physical condition, unshakable mental confidence, and the undeniable proof of her marketability, creates a perfect storm. It sets the stage for a season that isn't just about basketball statistics, but about the reclamation of a narrative. It's about an athlete returning to her primary sport not to simply compete, but to definitively conquer, to force a change in the culture itself, and to ensure that the respect she earned on the fairway is waiting for her at long last on the hardwood. As the tournament wrapped up, Caitlin Clark approached the microphones, a calm and confident smile on her face that seemed to silently answer every question before it was even asked. The frantic flash of cameras and the overlapping shouts of reporters didn't seem to faze her in the slightest. In fact, she carried herself with a poise that transcended her age, a demeanor that suggested she was exactly where she was meant to be. She was in her element, not just as an athlete, but as a central figure in an evolving sports narrative. When asked about her physical health and her future aspirations, her response was deceptively simple, yet carried the weight of a profound promise. She said, "I'm healthy, I'm happy, and I'm just getting started." That statement is far more than just a routine update for press. It's a warning shot across the bow of the entire sports establishment. It's a declaration that the journey everyone has been watching is merely the prologue, and the main story is yet to be written. The world, and particularly the basketball world, initially thought her story was about a phenomenal college talent adapting to the brutal realities of the WNBA. But it turns out the paradigm has fundamentally shifted. The WNBA now has to adapt to her unprecedented stardom, to her power to draw eyes from outside the traditional basketball ecosystem, and to her demonstrated ability to create her own platforms for success when the traditional ones feel constricting. The lines between sport have been permanently blurred. The old rules that confine athletes to a single lane are being rewritten in real time, and the era of the multidimensional sports icon, who commands attention on their own terms, is undeniably here. This new archetype isn't defined by a single jersey or a single game, but by a force of personality and talent so compelling that it creates its own gravity, pulling fans and opportunities from every corner of the culture. Caitlin Clark didn't just play a round of golf. She announced the dawn of this new era, and with 3 simple words: just getting started. She promised that the most exciting chapters are still to come. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know your thoughts in the comment below. Do you believe this golf moment changes the trajectory of Caitlin Clark's career and the perception of the WNBA? And if you want to stay updated on every twist and turn of this developing story, make sure you subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.